Gas mileage, the outback is far from ordinary.
It's a familiar sound in parts of South Florida as residents board up and get out in preparation of Hurricane George. There are numerous mandatory and voluntary evacuations underway. Good afternoon. Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Jeanette Jones. With Hurricane George anticipated to hit South Florida within the next 36 hours, residents are hurriedly making final preparations. Right now, the storm is continuing to move along the northern coast of Cuba. We have complete coverage on this, starting with Dennis Smith in the Forecast Center.
Thank you, Janetta. Again, Hurricane George has left a path of destruction across much of the Caribbean, as much as $1 billion in damage and over 110 people losing their lives. Now focusing in on Central and South Florida, where already 4 million residents are responding to the wrath of Hurricane George and getting out of its way. Satellite perspective again, as Janetta was pointing out, rushing along the center of the storm along the northern coastline of Cuba right now, but the bands of precipitation extending all the way up into the southern areas of the Bahamas and will continue to filter farther to the west and northwest as time goes on. The track of Hurricane George has been steady and focusing on the west-northwest, still at that general plot, moving at about 12 miles an hour. 80-mile-an-hour winds puts it a Category 1 on the Safford-Simpson scale. Let's put that in relative perspective. Andrew, when it came through, was up around the Category 4 area, and this is a Category 1. Now located about 295 miles southeast of Key West, Florida, continuing to move west-northwest at 12. With that in mind, over the next 24 hours, hurricane conditions may make an impact on the south coast of Florida. That's why hurricane warnings are posted all the way from Deerfield Beach on the southeast coastline, down through the Keys, and up the west coast to around Bonita Beach. Key West to Key Largo has had mandatory evacuation, and they have urged all people to get off that stretch of roadway and the nearby area along Highway 1 all the way up to around the Key Largo area. Hurricane watches remain in effect up through Longboat Key on the west coast and up to Stuart, Florida on the east coast. Again, mandatory evacuation for Key West up to Key Largo. We understand that at 4 p.m. this afternoon, they will be shutting down traffic that is going into that area south of Florida City, and a mandatory evacuation has been ordered, and also a curfew will be established at 9 p.m. tonight for that immediate area. Also, voluntary evacuations, especially in low-lying areas and in mobile homes. The wrath of Hurricane George, even if it's a minimal hurricane passing through this area, a stronger support should be than mobile homes. Areas that might be impacted: Sarasota, Glades, Hendry, Collier, and over on the southeast coastline, Dade, Broward, the Miami area, all the way down through Key Biscayne. So, of course, we'll keep you focused and updated on those particular warnings as they become a change and alter with George. Now, we urge you, in case of evacuation, to obey the advisories promptly. Make sure before you leave your home, turn off your electricity and water utilities, lock doors and windows, and follow recommended evacuation routes. As those hurricane warnings have been issued, be prepared for possible evacuation if you're in a volunteer area. Call a contact person outside your area and let them know your plans so you can be prepared to have contact in the outside world, outside the area that will be impacted by Hurricane George. Also, it'd be a good idea to collect your disaster supplies kit: flashlight, batteries, portable radio, drinking water, things of that sort. Make sure you place your valuables in waterproof containers. We urge you to stay tuned to the Weather Channel and your local officials for the very latest information. ATM machines may be down. Better get the cash now, and also a full tank of gas. We've been monitoring this storm very closely with crews in southern areas of Florida. In fact, been with us throughout this episode with George on the west coast of Florida, specifically in Naples, is Bill Keneally. Bill, it looks like everything but a hurricane out there right now.
You got that right, Dennis. We're having trouble getting a sea breeze today. We have the easterly wind building. We have the sea breeze trying to kick in, and the net effect is no wind out here. So please don't let your guard down out here, folks. We're in really uncharted waters. I was talking to Gary Arnold from the Emergency Management Division. The population, get this, here in Collier County has gone from a mere 15,000 up to about 215,000 since 1960, which coincidentally was the year of Hurricane Donna. Not to say we're looking at a Hurricane Donna, but once again, this is uncharted water, folks. A hurricane coming in from the southeast in latter September. It will likely get out over the water and start to feast on those warm waters, which behind me are running in the low to mid 80s. This hurricane is something that's rather formidable, and hopefully everybody took full advantage of the opportunity. The weather has been terrific today. Now remember, the evacuation orders may become mandatory south of 5th Avenue South here in Collier County before the afternoon is out. The 5 o'clock advisory will probably make that final determination. Dennis, the shelters are opening for these special needs folks. There are 2 shelters open now. There are 5 opening for anybody as of 5 p.m. I want to emphasize, though, they can handle up to 9,000 people, but you have to bring your own bedding. They will put you under a roof, but that is about it, and they will feed you. But bring your snacks, bring your water, and bring your own bedding, please. So Dennis, that's it from now. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be back up around 7 o'clock, and hopefully the weather will still be holding nicely. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Bill Keneally reporting to us from Naples, Florida on the preparations underway there. Joining me now is our hurricane specialist, Dr. Steve Lyons. I think a lot of the response that we're seeing from the residents in that area is in response to what Hurricane Andrew left them several years ago.
That's right. Preparedness and reaction is usually tied to a previous bad experience, learning the lesson the hard way. Most people that I have ever talked to that went through Andrew in their own homes and should have evacuated will never do that again. That's just a comment of advice there. If you're trying to ride something out and you should be evacuating, I would not recommend it.
But again, let's put this in perspective. I'm glad that they're respecting the fury of a hurricane, but this isn't going to be an Andrew for this area.
Absolutely not. And of course, the real threat is for the Keys. Luckily, almost everybody is off the Keys. About 95% as last I talked to Billy Wagner down there, which is good news because the water is what typically kills people, not the wind typically. And the storm surge there could come right over the island if the hurricane intensified very quickly, and so that's the danger. You can't risk having people there without having them evacuate.
We're sitting at shortly after 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Where and what will the weather be like for those in South Florida over the next 24 hours?
Well, it should be a real pretty afternoon. You can see here on the satellite imagery, here's our hurricane down here, starting to elongate a little bit in sort of the direction we expect it to move. Beautiful evening here in South Florida. We have a weak stalled frontal boundary up in central and northern Florida, and in between there's strong subsidence. A beautiful evening. You'll have a pretty sunset, plenty of time to prepare if you haven't already done your final preparedness. And then the winds are going to pick up by evening time. They'll be about 20 miles an hour, gusting to 25. By later this evening, much stronger. We'll start to get some very heavy shower bands in here, and when those shower bands hit the Keys in particular in South Florida, the winds will suddenly be much stronger in those bands, and then they'll slacken off, and it'll gradually deteriorate through early tomorrow, and then by late tomorrow afternoon about this time, we're going to have the closest approach probably.
Cuba experiences flooding and heavy rain as the center of Hurricane George passes over the northern coast of the island nation. Hello, I'm Jill Brown. Welcome to this edition of Weather Center. Residents in South Florida are packing up and moving out as George moves even closer to the Sunshine State. The beginning of the rain and the wind is expected later tonight. Here's Jeanette Jones with the latest information from the Forecast Center.
Well, we do have some new information. The 5 o'clock advisory is in, and it looks as if we could see some strengthening occurring with Hurricane George, and it looks like the strengthening may continue as it moves closer and closer to Florida. All right, let's look at our latest satellite vantage point, and we are watching very closely as it moves on off towards the west-northwest at about 14 miles per hour. Intensification is likely as the next 24 hours are going to be crucial to see what goes on in South Florida and especially in the Keys. This is the latest information as of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Winds at 80 miles per hour still, moving west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. Pressure has remained at 989 millibars. It's centered now about 255 miles southeast of Key West, Florida. Now, I want to go over these hurricane watches and warnings that are in effect. Warnings for eastern Cuba, the central Bahamas, the northwestern Bahamas, and also watches for central Cuba. Now, I want to focus in on what's happening in Florida because we do have a hurricane warning remaining in effect for South Florida from Deerfield Beach southward on the east coast and from Bonita Beach southward on the west coast. That includes the Florida Keys. It includes Monroe, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Collier counties. The area of hurricane warnings may be extended northward along the west coast of Florida later tonight or early Friday. All right, also, tropical storm warning has now been issued. That's new for the Florida East Coast north of Deerfield Beach at Boca Raton to Stewart. A hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning are in effect from just north of Deerfield Beach at Boca Raton to Stewart on the Florida East Coast, and a hurricane watch remains in effect from just north of Bonita Beach northward to Longboat Key on the Florida West Coast. This includes Palm Beach, Martin, Sarasota, Charlotte, and Lee counties. Now, we also have a number of evacuations that are in effect. So we have mandatory evacuations that include the Keys from Key West to Key Largo and beyond that. We also have voluntary evacuations, which means that if you're in a low-lying area or a mobile home or a recreation vehicle, you need to get out now. Sarasota County, Charlotte County, Glades County, Lee County, Hendry County, Collier County, Broward County, and Miami-Dade County. That includes Naples, Miami Beach, and Key Biscayne. And you need to bring your preparations to a close very, very soon because things are going to be deteriorating very shortly. We have a crew standing by in Key Biscayne, Florida. Our own Jim Cantori is there. And Jim, you're seeing some of the deterioration that's taking place now.
That's right, Jeanette. Winds continue to pick up here. We're easily gusting to 30 several times, between this live shot and the last one that we just did. Also in Monroe County now, down in the Keys, this is important. There is a curfew now. This is what they call a phase-in of the evacuation process, where if you haven't left yet, you're not going to. You're going to have to stay there and ride out the storm. So that's very, very important. Do not head out in Monroe County now. It is too late. They want you to just kind of hunker down and deal with this storm as it begins to come in. Also here in Miami-Dade County, we do have mandatory evacuations for the mobile home parks. There's approximately 85 of those, and there are 7 shelters open at this time. Now, this information may be changing as I speak as a result of the 5 o'clock advisory, because the mayor has just been meeting with the heads of EOC and all the department heads to decide what they're going to do with the oncoming of the 5 o'clock advisory. So I may have some new information for you at the bottom of the hour. But they do want you to kind of stay tuned to things and obviously keep attention to what's going on. There's a number that you can call to get information, 305-598-7550. I'll give you that again before I leave. And that's definitely one that you want to call to get the latest information that is from the Department of Emergency Management in Dade County. Other than that, just basically get ready to evacuate, if in fact that's what you're allowed to do. So that number again, in case you didn't have a pen at the time, 305-598-7550. That's the rumor control line for the Dade County Emergency Management. Jeanette, again, winds continue to pick up. Skies are darkening a little bit now. Instead of just a low cloud deck, we have a few mid-level clouds moving in. So no doubt some of those outer bands moving closer and closer. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Jim Cantori reporting live. We'll check back with you in just a little while. I'm joined now by our hurricane expert, John Hope. John's been following this hurricane for quite a while. It has maintained its strength unbelievably after moving over quite a bit of land.
When you consider how much land it moved over, Jeanette, it went over, first of all, it hit out there in the northern Leeward Islands, then went over to Puerto Rico. At the eye of the hurricane, spent 6 hours over Puerto Rico. Came out over Hispaniola, spent 12 hours there, and now it's been over Cuba more than 24 hours. And here we see it emerging, the circulation center on the north coast, still very much intact.
All right, as we look at this satellite vantage point, we can clearly see the center of circulation, and you think that the intensification is likely?
We think it is very likely. Actually, the new forecast from the Hurricane Center does bring the intensity up to a Category 2 before it gets to the Florida Keys, and Category 3 after that, but there's a possibility it could even strengthen faster than that, and the Hurricane Center has acknowledged that, so we want the viewers to know that this is a possibility. Not in the forecast yet, but something that we have to watch very carefully.
A Category 1 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale, meaning it's a minimal hurricane, but each time you go up a category, you go up with the damage potential.
The damage potential is much greater, the wind is much greater, and everything connected with it is greater. The storm surge, too, will be greater with the higher category, of course.
Brings me to my next question. What do you think is the biggest threat with this particular hurricane?
Well, as long as we have a Category 1, I would say the biggest threat is the storm surge in the Keys. However, since it may increase some, the wind itself could be a threat as well.
And we're already seeing some strong winds, some squalls moving closer and closer to the Keys.
This squall line is one of the outer rain band, the most outer rain band of the hurricane. That is a very nasty squall line, and it's moving towards South Florida. And Jeanette, I'm afraid that squall line itself, which could be in there in an hour or two, could have wind gusts up 50, 60 miles an hour, something like that.
All right, and folks that are preparing to evacuate or getting on the roadways now, notice we already have some rain showers, not associated with the hurricane, but an easterly flow there in an old front. So you are going to be encountering some slick places on the roadways there, so take it easy. Looking at this particular satellite vantage point, John, what are we thinking is the potential as far as the track is concerned?
Well, here you see where the probabilities are highest in red, and right about in the middle of that, Jeanette, is where the Hurricane Center's track is. However, that looks very much as if it's a general track for sure. I think with this track that the Florida Keys are really under the gun. It seems to be headed still right directly for the Florida Keys, the best we can see.
And beyond that, we think it may move out into the Gulf?
We think it will move out into the Gulf and eventually be a problem up in the northern Gulf. We're not prepared to say just exactly where that will be, but very likely, Jeanette, we are going to be dealing with a major hurricane by the time it gets up there.
So all interest in South Florida, immediate danger right now, and in the Gulf of Mexico, you'll need to tune in throughout the weekend. And we'll be here to monitor the situation. Thank you so much, John Hope. As always, if you're away from your television set and you need more information, you can tap into the Weather Channel's online service at weather.com. Now back to Jill in the studio.
Okay, thanks, Jeanette. We've had some heavy rain today, and one other spot, and that's been Missouri.
Out through this radio station. As George moves towards South Florida, we're live in the studio and in the field to bring you late-breaking, dependable coverage only on the Weather Channel every hour and half.
Mrs. G's, your one stop for home appliances.
How do we do it?
By offering you the best appliances at the best prices. And now the highest quality GE appliances are on sale. Don't wait, every GE is on sale now.
The big deals are at Mrs. G's.
1 block south of the junction of 295 and 95 on Route 1 in Lawrenceville.
For $8, you can join AARP. $8. You get a magazine. You get a newsletter. You get a card. You get 2 cards. Because when you join, your spouse joins free. You get lots of benefits, too. When you travel and close to home. It's only $8. When was the last time you got so much for so little? So go ahead. Why not give AARP a call?
We track the storms. We keep on top of the temperatures, helping people adjust, helping people prepare, letting folks know what's changing all day long.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for Storm Watch. Right now, as we check out our tropical update, 3 hurricanes, 1 tropical storm. George here, of course. We also have Karl, we have Ivan, and we also have Jeanne. So all those different features out there presently. As of 5 p.m., here's the latest information. 80 miles per hour I have a feeling we're not going to see anything but up and up for a while as this hurricane begins to move away from the coast of Cuba, and that will allow it to strengthen significantly as it makes its way generally out toward the Keys. Bigger view showing that direction up toward South Florida. And of course, preparations are on their way right now. Tropical storm Karl, top sustained winds 45, moving away from the states, no threat whatsoever. Hurricane Ivan, 80 miles per hour, also no threat to the states. And Hurricane Jeanne, 105 miles per hour. Latest satellite photograph showing that Jeanne continues to swirl off the coast of Africa, also probably not affecting the states. Join me right now from our sister network, Weather Channel Latin America, is Jose Daniel Marquez.
Sí, muchas gracias, Rich. En estos momentos podemos notar que este sistema se encuentra afectando gran parte de lo que es Cuba y especialmente lo que es la región norte de Cuba, lo que es específicamente la cañería de Sabana Camagüey, mientras que se esperan penetraciones de mar específicamente sobre la ciudad de Cárdenas, en la bahía de Cárdenas. Este sistema se está moviendo oeste-noroeste y, como podemos ver en esta foto de satélite, podemos notar la extensa banda de nubosidad y de lluvias que acompaña a este sistema, que prácticamente se han reportado hasta 13 pulgadas en lo que es Guantánamo de Cuba y de entre 6 a 8 pulgadas de lluvia en Camagüey. Este sistema se sigue moviendo y ya las primeras bandas de lluvia se pueden notar específicamente en la foto de radar, casi llegando prácticamente a lo que es Cayo Hueso. Así que el sur de la Florida debe de prepararse especialmente en las próximas horas por un aumento en las precipitaciones. Y ahora pasamos al estudio with Rich Johnson.
All right, thank you, Jose. Coming up in just a minute, of course, we have the national forecast and back to the forecast center with John Hope with expert advice on what's going on with the hurricane. That's up after your local conditions.
Folks in Florida and the Keys are preparing for Hurricane George, a storm that's already taken its toll on the Caribbean. The latest details on George just ahead on Weather Center.
A neglected septic system is like a time bomb under your house. Diffuse it with maintenance and advanced formula Rid-X septic treatment. It digests grease and paper and helps keep your system trouble-free. Diffuse that time bomb. Use Rid-X every month.
Food that sounds